I'm Olivia. I am a wildlife and travel photographer. My goal is to inspire people to give a shit.
I'm Pat. Spent 10 years in the Marine Corps. I have strong views on conservation and the U.S. Constitution.
We will discuss topics like yoga,
How to gut a deer and not fuck up your meat.
orgasmic meditation,
Full body orgasms.
life after divorce.
Life after death.
Why the fuck do we still use plastic bags?
Why can't everyone learn guitar in school?
What do you look for in the perfect photo?
What's in my food?
What's in my mouth?
We might also dabble in a little bit of motorcycles. That's right. She rides a Harley, bitches. While our upbringings drastically differed,
Our ability to communicate and be open-minded has allowed us to strengthen our relationship. So this podcast is here for you to broaden your horizons, possibly change your perspective on a topic. So we hope you enjoy listening to The Hunter and Hippie.
Episode 4.
5.
Fuck.
All right, yes, I will do the intro. All right.
Can I have a high five for episode 5?
High five. Sure, 5.
High five for 5.
Welcome to The Hunter and Hippie. This is episode 5. Dang, we're like already on a second hand. It's pretty cool.
I know.
Today, we wanted to discuss a pretty common topic that we all tend to deal with in our own ways, and that is the topic of acceptance. Mainly our struggles and how we overcame obstacles in self-acceptance in different ways. And I first wanted to start off the episode with the definition of acceptance, and that was the action of consenting to receive or undertake something offered. So for me, that just reminds me that acceptance, it's an offering. It's an offering to change the trajectory of your life, to change what has a hold on you. Wouldn't you agree, love?
I think it's accepting a circumstance in order to grow as a person.
And the more that we deny accepting a situation, I think the longer it takes us to be free from something so restrictive and something that might keep you in an old mindset or an old relationship even. So learning to accept where you are in the present doesn't mean that you're complacent. It just means that you're acknowledging where you are and maybe you're willing to do the work and put in all the efforts to get to where you really want to be. But if you don't just accept where you are, it's like you don't know where you are on the map. Like if you don't accept where you are in this moment, how can you progress if you don't know where you are? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Sweet. I'm glad because it made sense to me. So there was an example. And Pat knows that my most difficult time was my pregnancy, which also in the same few months was also my divorce. And in those moments, I had a really hard time accepting what was happening in my life. I got married because I loved this person and I believed that we could work through anything and continue to grow together and build a life together. I was raised by 2 parents that are still married. They've been married 42 years. That's crazy. Like, that makes them sound really old, but whatever.
That's how old I am.
Yeah, they've been married since you were born, I think. Or maybe it's 40 years this year. Whatever. It's a lot, many years, many decades. I was raised to believe that, yes, you will dislike your spouse at some point, but you should always come back to the moment that you exchange vows and come back to the reason you believe that this person was the person you want to spend your life with. And so that was my mindset. And then all of a sudden, I'm getting divorced. And I was like, no, like we work at this. This is my belief. Why aren't we working at this? And I could not accept that he didn't agree. He didn't want to do the work. He didn't believe in that. We didn't have the same values in that. So it took a very long time to accept that, and I lost sleep over it. I cried over it for way too long. And eventually, I just had to look at it for what it was. I had to come back to the moment when, like, I had an emergency surgery and I just had to accept that I was going into surgery. Like, there's nothing I can do other than accept where I am and adapt. So that came back into my mindset of I just need to accept where I am, what's about to happen, because the longer I'm fighting it, the more tormented I become. So I finally accepted it, got divorced, and then I had the whole freaking struggle of definition of family. You know, I celebrated my Christmas Eve with my dogs alone because he was spending time with his dad. My 3-month-old was having his visitation. And instead of just crying about it and being so depressed, I was like, okay, what can I do to just accept it for what it is? I'm not going to have his first Christmas Eve with him, with my family, with my now ex-husband. Like, it's not happening. Like, you got to have those tough conversations with yourself. Like, hey, snap out of it. So what I did, I grabbed my camera, I grabbed my dogs, and I went for a hike. And I took pictures of them, and I just got my heart rate up. I moved my body, and it felt good. Though, yes, I was still sad that I didn't have my kid. But in that moment, it's that whole, like, something's being offered up to me. And in that moment, it was the world, the universe was offering me to change my mindset, to find empowerment in something that I was not accepting. So that was one of my examples, was definition of family. I grew up with my parents having sword fights with barbecue utensils at the counter when I would have breakfast before school. Like, they would fight with a big spatula and tongs. I think my mom always had the tongs, the really sharp ones, for the grill. So we would just be cracking up. And so, like, I had this idea in my mind for most of my life that this is what I want my kids to grow up with. And there's a quote that I really like, and that's expectations lead to disappointment. If you're expecting life to be a certain way and it doesn't happen, then you're going to be disappointed. But if you can accept that the only thing we can control is right now, then you're in a lot better place, a lot better in your mind. So when I had this whole ideal of I'm going to play and be goofy and Hendrix is going to watch us like love on each other, and when that didn't happen, I had to just find ways that I could step back into my power and create that for him on my own. So you've seen it. I do.
Oh, yeah.
Pat's son is 17, and he was in his room the other night, and I'm on the ground with Hendrix, and he was pretending he was Spider-Man, and then he was Mario. When you crack that blue flower and it's ice, or you have the red flower and it's fire. So he'll say ice or fire. And so he said, "You're stuck." And I just, like, froze, and I was mid-sentence with Blake, and I just froze. I'm like, like, "Oh no." And he just looked at me. He's like, "What are you doing?" You could see he was like, "That's so funny." But he also was like, "Wow, like, you're a child." Like, we run around the house and we play Eagle, and I make obstacle courses, and we play lava. Everybody my age, millennials. Are you a millennial or are you a Gen X?
X.
God, you're old. So don't flip me off. We played lava as a kid, so you can't touch the ground. So I'll do that, and I play with both of our young kids. And I remember that with my parents, and he will remember that with his parent. And that's okay, because you know what? If I forced my relationship to fit the picture I had, I was going to lose something. I was going to trade that ideal, that picture I had in my mind, for maybe stability or respect that my son would show me. There was going to be a trade-off. If I was willing to trade my happiness to keep my family together, then something else had to break, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my 2 cents for now. I feel like I've been taking over this whole thing. So what do you want to say?
You defined acceptance in the beginning, and for what it's worth, the ability to recognize that you're in a situation that you need to either accept or react. For me, what it is accepting that I have reached a turning point, a limitation where I can't continue going down that same path that I was going down, whether it's being aged out or it's being too old,
For
which is
what?
the same fucking thing.
For what?
So previous episodes, we covered that I was in the Marine Corps. And for me in the Marine Corps, that was like the highlight of my life, where I'm fighting a war in Iraq and Afghanistan. And that lifestyle, that extreme adrenaline mixed with risk, it's like a drug. You know, you think of an addict and they're like, oh, I can put it down and move on and get better. But every day of that addict's life, since they've gone cold turkey or they've gone to counseling or they've done whatever they're doing, the addict will reach a point where they're thinking about it again. And they're thinking, oh, you know, if I can just get one fix or whatever.
Filling some kind of void.
Yeah. And the void filler for me would have been to be a contractor, whether it's with GRS or DIA, Triple Canopy, all the umbrella corporations that those fall under. To do something like that would have fulfilled my void for a couple reasons. One, they make an ungodly amount of money.
Because it comes with a price.
But a price that somebody who can do that lifestyle and accepts that lifestyle, then it's a no-brainer for them, for me. And it just never happened. And I always said, oh, I could do it this year. I could do it that year. You know, I got called in 2012. I got called in 2017, again in 2018. And it's like these 3 different companies. And I'm like, I really want to do this. And it just never happened. And for me, it's accepting the reality that it's not going to happen. You know, now life has changed quite a bit.
What do you mean? Just getting old?
No, you know, I have kids in a solid relationship where I don't want to be anywhere else. Accepting that I have to let go of the dream of doing that job, because those guys, those operators, they retire at age 40. And here I am 42. I'm not going to start that career.
Yeah.
Could I? Yeah, I'm sure somebody along the way will look at my resume and say, okay, we'll take you on, bud. So I had to accept that. And it's difficult for me. It's very difficult for me. I still view myself as a viable asset in that community. And some would argue that I absolutely am. And others would say, brother, hang it up. We're old, you know? But, you know, and then it's ridiculous because you become so good at something and so ingrained with that mindset of, I can do this for the rest of my life. And then it just, for whatever reason, it stops. And then you sit there and you are worthless because everything you worked for, everything you trained for, everything you had mapped out on a blueprint has either caught fire and is diminished, or it never took shape and it's not going to. So, you have to then accept that nothing's going to be given to you, whether it's that contracting company or maybe for somebody else, it's that big job that you've been waiting to hear back from, and it's just not happening. Well, there comes a point in time where you have to accept that nothing's going to happen, and you're going to have to make it happen yourself. And if you don't make it happen, well, then you're going to have to either dwell on your excuses as to why it didn't happen, or you're going to have to move on from it.
How are you moving on?
Yeah. So for me, I'm taking the knowledge, skills, and aptitudes that I've learned over the years from a different aspect. I can write a 5-paragraph order, or I can write a mission plan and get it submitted up the chain of command, and it'll come back approved for us to do a kinetic operation. Well, everything that goes into that is the situation, mission, execution, admin and logistics, command and control. And now I'm applying that to real world where, you know, situation then would have been mitigating terrorist cells from implanting IEDs into this roadway, that roadway, or whatever.
Okay.
And my situation now is how am I going to make my life, those around me, my kids, my family, how am I going to better my life on a daily basis to ensure that everyone gets the piece of the pie, so to speak. That's my goal now.
Like you're saying, if you continue to struggle with the fact that you aren't going to do contracting and you just can't accept that, then most likely your attitude, your demeanor, like everything, the way you interact with people in your real life would be probably negatively affected. If you can't accept something, then what gets the brunt of that non-acceptance?
Yeah, and if you can't accept it, then you have to have a hard conversation with yourself. And when you do that, I'll take from Extreme Ownership from Jocko Willink. He says, don't sugarcoat reality for yourself. And
Hmm.
for me, what that means is accept what your reality is and make the best of your decision to adapt. If your adaptability goes out the window, then it doesn't matter whether you can accept it or not. You can accept or you can dwell or you can sit in one place, but if you can't adapt, you're not going to move anyway.
Yeah.
So your ability to adapt to a circumstance is what's going to help you through your acceptance process, but it's also going to help you move forward from whatever it was that you had to accept.
That reminds me of something I saw recently, and I'm going to totally butcher the way that it was said, but it said that real leaders are 2 steps ahead.
Mm.
So they're always thinking of what next. And an example that now just pops into my mind, when COVID hit our state, it was very different. But we weren't shut down for years. We were shut down for weeks. In the moment that we heard that everything's getting shut down, I remember my dad and we were walking down Main Street in Deadwood from our gallery. And he's like, "What are we going to do?" And I was like, "Okay, well, everyone's going to be stuck at home. What can we do to make that easier on people? What can we do to continue and be a positive force in this, inspiration in a probably scary moment for the whole country, the world?" And we started an online through Facebook Live and YouTube Live. We did paint classes. So my dad did these free sessions. He's a world famous artist, yet he wasn't going to be traveling. And it's like, what can we do to give back? And so we started those, and the not only the positive comments in the moment, there are people that still talk about it and they say that it was their lifeline. It was the one thing that kept them from going completely insane in their house. They're like, "You were the best thing that I looked forward to every Thursday night. You gave people hope." So we just accepted what was about to happen and we adapted. So adaptability is huge in life because things don't go the way that you always plan. And the older you get, the more it happens, I feel like.
Yeah. You're talking about getting old and adapting. And first thought that comes to mind for me is the gym. I'm not 18. I'm not 25 anymore. Bench pressing over 250 pounds hurts a
Yep.
lot.
Yep.
It hurts a lot. And for what? What am I doing it for? To say that I can bench press that? No, I'm doing it for bodily health so that I can stay healthy
Mhm.
and recover and live a life where I'm not in aches and pains. And props to you, because prior to being with you, I ate whatever I felt was healthy or ate whatever I wanted, and had inflammation in my knee and my shoulder, my
Mhm.
elbow, everything hurt all the time. And since we've been together, I think I've complained to my back maybe one time, and it's because I overdid it in deadlifts. And that was self-inflicted. It
Yeah.
wasn't because I stepped out of the truck weird and twisted my back.
Yeah.
So accepting that I'm getting older, it sucks, but
Mhm.
I adapt when I'm in the gym. So now instead of doing barbell bench press, now I'm using the dumbbells because it just hurts to do the barbell. But I
Yeah.
can still do the rep. I just have to do it modified.
And a lot of that, like acceptance of our bodies, I feel like it's not only ego,
Mhm.
it's just like, shit, I'm getting older. Like I noticed I have a whole lot more gray hairs, and don't look for them.
I don't see
Stop
any.
it.
I don't see
Shush.
any.
And so when I started to first see them, what? What'd you
Said I don't see any. 5.
say? So when I started to see grays in my hair, I don't color my hair. I haven't colored it in over 10 years. It's full of chemicals. I know you're shocked that that's why I don't do it. Your hair grows better when you don't. Also, I just cut 12 inches of my hair off this morning. So anyway, the gray hairs. When I started to see them at first, I started to reject them. I was really unhappy seeing them. But then I'm like, okay, how can I shift this? How can I adapt, accept many people don't get gray hairs because they die before they get grays. So I am really grateful that I am still alive. I'm still in my son's life. I'm making a difference in my community, hopefully. But another thing is I can view them as sparkles because they're very sparkly. Shut up. So I do. I'm like, I got like glimmer. It's like a little sparkle in my hair. It's just some pizzazz.
Jeez.
You're welcome. You got lots of
I got lots of
sparkles.
grays. I don't really care.
Well, yeah, I feel like guys, you look hotter when you have grays. Oh, I like it.
It starts red, turns brown, back to blonde, back to black, and then gray.
Yeah.
And then maybe a little green from a marker from Haley.
I don't know. I think everything in life we can either accept
Mhm.
and flow with, or we can fight. And that resistance can cause so much more discomfort for so much longer. I went to this thing, it's called Landmark Forum, if you guys have heard of it. They call it a curriculum for living. And it's like a weekend program, and it's all about changing your mindset, kind of like Tony Robbins. But they've been around, I think, since the 60s or 70s. My grandpa actually hosted the first Landmark Forum in his basement in Michigan, like the first group meeting. He was a proponent of it his whole life. And he pushed it for most of my teenage years. And he was like the grumpiest, most opinionated, curmudgeon old man. I'm like, I don't want to go to this program that you are pushing. And I ended up going to it because I met these people. We were in Arizona at a bike week, a bike show. And these people, this energy they had was magnetic. Like it was just you wanted to know who they were, what they were doing to have that kind of energy. And we walked over, start talking to them, and they called it Landmark. And I always knew it as the Forum through my grandpa. And they were like, yeah, we're doing this thing called Landmark. And they keep talking. And then they say Landmark Forum. And I was like, oh my God, it just like light bulb. Like, this is the thing that my grandpa's been pushing my whole life. Are you freaking kidding me? And I get convinced through these strangers. But anyway,
Mhm.
they teach something. So I'm going to use you. If you're not watching, I'm going to put my hand and I'm going to try to put it on your head and try to stop me. Put your hand up and try to stop me. So as I push, what are you doing? I mean, I'm not stronger than you. So
Giving resistance.
giving resistance. But if I was stronger than you, you might be making a smushed face or struggling, like, oh, like grimacing, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
So that's you resisting somebody saying like, hey, do you want to come over? And they say no. And you're like, well, what the hell? Like, don't you like me? And you're continuing to push and push and push. And they said, okay, I'm going to go again. And now if I say no, this is no, step to the side. They go and watch that. Oh, the no just goes right past you. And look, you look pretty still. Your hair's not messed up. You're not struggling against this person's no. So it kind of reminds me of acceptance. If you continue to push against this thing, like I'm going to do 250 pounds of bench press or whatever, and you keep pushing, you're going to hurt. You're going to be in pain. But if you just go, you know what? I'm not 25 anymore. And you just go lower, guess what? You're going to get a better workout. You're probably going to not have any aches. So you're going to come back maybe 2 days later and do that workout again and continue to get stronger rather than go to the 250 pounds that you are holding on to and you hurt yourself to the point where you can't work out for a week.
Mhm.
Then you're kind of fucking yourself over. So I think that acceptance is a lot easier on you overall in every aspect than to fight it and to hold on to something, some ideal. That expectations, they lead to disappointment. I like how I'm
And
pushing on you and you're like, yeah, what about this?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I also think that acceptance can be applied to you viewing other people.
Yes.
Going back to our judgment episode, where everybody's going to be judged, but instead of judging, just accept that person for what they are and make a conscious decision whether or not you want that person around. You do it when you choose friends, you do it when you choose partners, you do it when you're shaping your kids. As she mentioned, I have a 17-year-old, and I pushed him for years and years and years to act a certain way, to be respectful, to apply himself. He was pushing back. It's funny now because everything I've said to him, he's starting to do. And then he looks at me and he's like, it's all making sense now. Oh my God. You finally accepted everything I've been saying.
Yep. Yeah,
Thank
and he
you.
was resisting, and sometimes you gotta learn kids especially, you have to learn through your own experiences. And my mom would say stuff like that to me when I was a teenager. She'd be like, "You think it's stupid now, but you'll look back and be like, wow, mom was right."
Mhm.
Or raising kids, she's like, "Yeah, like, you mess up all the time, like, parenting, you haven't been a parent before, so just show yourself some grace and accept that you are both learning together." They're learning to be a human if they're, little, and you're learning how to deal with that and
Mm.
how to shape a little person. So there's a lot of acceptance in a lot of things. I think it's just part of life. Another part of acceptance, to accept something out of your control is difficult if you find stability in control. So there's, I think, 6 human needs: certainty, uncertainty, security, safety. I don't want to do this. Security?
Security?
There's 5 or 6. There's a lot of human needs. You determine what your human needs are at the Tony Robbins event. And for me, I thrive in certainty. And I really had to look at that and be like, okay, if this is the thing that makes me feel safest and life is so uncertain, you cannot control the future, I'm setting myself up for failure. So I had to really work through, how can I be okay with uncertainty? How can I start doing things that cause me uncertainty? One thing I put my house on the market and it sold in one day. And I was like, oh my God, I'm moving. I had it listed at a price that I was like, you know what? It seems a little high. I'm just gonna see what happens. And then I get an offer. It was the lowball offer. I counter full price and they accept. I'm like, oh fuck. Okay. All right, it's happening. And in that, though, I quadrupled my initial investment. Obviously, I paid into the mortgage, but what I had put in, I quadrupled. And if I needed certainty, I probably would still be in that house, still in a controlling HOA, not being able to put my water is worth more than gold sign out in my front yard because that, like, fucking stupid. Anyway, I'm not going to go down my complaints about HOAs. But if I needed certainty, I would still most likely be in that old house that I didn't totally love. I'd probably be still in a dysfunctional relationship after our divorce. We got back together. I'd still probably be in that, trying to make it work, losing myself, being this shadow of a mother for my son, not playing, not being happy, not being free to be me, if I needed certainty so badly. So when I put my house up on the market, I was definitely freaking out. And I'm like, you know what? I've been through much worse. I will always come out of whatever happens. That was one thing I reminded myself. Like, no matter what happens in life, you are always going to come out of it one way or another. If you lose all of your money, guess what? You can make more again. If your house burns down, that's freaking awful. You lose all your belongings and your memories, but guess what? You get to make new ones, and you're always going to have the old memories in your mind.
Mm.
So there are ways to shift your mindset around something so that you can, the definition of acceptance, you can undertake something that's offered to you. So you can look at all your belongings burnt to the ground as this, oh my God, I lost everything. Or you can look at it as, I'm gaining a new life. I'm gaining a new way of creating memories, of buying furniture that brings me joy and that's not cheap. Like, there's so many ways to flip whatever might be a sad moment and flip it on its head and make it something empowering for yourself.
Preach.
I don't know. I think these topics are ones that we've both experienced, and we might be older than some listeners. And if I knew what podcasts, actually I did know what podcasts were. I remember my first podcast was Mark Hoppus from Blink-182 and Plus 44. Don't win. Yeah, his shirt. Do you want to sing it?
Don't waste your time on me. You're already a voice inside my head.
Oh, I love that shirt. So anyway, if I knew what podcasts were in my early 20s, I would most likely be in a different position, a different point in my life than I am now. Sure, I read books, but like to be in the car driving somewhere and have the ability to listen to somebody who's already experienced life 10 years more than you, like, I think that would be super freaking cool if I could have gained that, don't you think? Like,
Yeah, I mean, you get it every day now because I'm old as shit.
yeah, and you're like, "Ah, my knee hurts, my back hurts."
Not anymore.
Yeah, I know. He is telling the truth with his knee pains. I saw it one time. It blew up like twice the size. It looked like arthritic. It looked very mad. And then because it only happened once, I forgot about it. But then he goes, "Yeah, you remember when my knee used to blow up?" I'm like, "Well, I think, yeah, like one time, one or two times." He's like, "Have I had that since?" I'm like, "No." What can you do? You can put your shoes on or whatever, your
I can
sock.
just bring my foot up to my chest and
He
put my shoes on.
like the most inflexible 40-year-old that I had ever frickin' seen. It was alarming. I'm like, "Wait, you can't put your sock on without sitting down? You can't reach that? Like, what are you?"
Just certain things. I mean,
Certain things.
now it's better,
It is better.
obviously, but
It's much better.
I stopped doing jujitsu in like 2019. And after stopping that, it's like all my mobility, all my flexibility, everything started ceasing, and my fingers started getting arthritis and twisted and broken. And so were my toes, and all my joints started throbbing, and it felt like it was hot water. Like
That's called inflammation.
if you just took a syringe and jabbed it into your thigh and just pressed hot water all the way into your kneecap from mid thigh down to almost mid shin on both knees, it just felt like there was hot water sitting in my legs every day.
Yucky.
Yeah, it sucked.
Acceptance. You just need to accept that you aren't doing the same thing, so your body's going to adapt in whatever way. Just like me, I haven't done yoga in a hot room where I've sweat and detoxed, and I feel it. If I wasn't accepting of the fact that I just haven't done anything like that in years, then I'd get frustrated and I'd probably stop anything.
Yeah.
But I'm like, "Hey, what do you expect? Your body's hasn't been doing it. Once you, what is it? Don't use it, you lose it."
Mm-hmm.
If you don't use your body in whatever way you used to, you're gonna lose that mobility. So just accept it or do something about it.
Blake and I were just talking yesterday. He joined the Marine Corps, and we're talking about the physical fitness test. They have to do it once a year. And then there's a combat fitness test, which is another one. And that has to be done within 6 months. So both tests have to be done in 12 months.
Okay.
But the PFT is pull-ups, sit-ups, and a 3-mile run. You have to do 20 pull-ups, complete dead hang pull-ups, no movement of the legs, straight up, straight down, arms locked out, chin over the bar.
Dang.
Those are the rules. And
Okay.
they're extremely strict on them in the Marine Corps. And we laugh and say, if you could do 20 pull-ups, you're going to do 15. But if you can do 25, then you're going to pass. And you could pass with like 6 or 7. I forget what it was. It depends on your age and male or female. So I was explaining to him, you got to do 20 pull-ups in order to get 100 points.
Mm-hmm.
I've got that other course upcoming with my other job.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a requirement of a minimum of 11 pull-ups. And I was like, yeah, it's 11 pull-ups. And then I stopped and I was like, can I fucking do 11 pull-ups right now? Like, I mean, I'm sure I could, but so today I'm going to see, where I'm at, and what I have to do to adapt and grow and
Yeah.
get the strength back. But it's like riding a bicycle. You don't really forget how to do it. it just hurts when you're doing it. Like,
Just
I
hurts.
bet if you went on a 13-mile bicycle ride right now, you'd come home and be like, my ass hurts, my thighs hurt, my
Oh,
shins
yeah.
hurt. This is stupid. I'm not fucking doing it again. And it's the same with me. Like, there's a technique and a trick to it, and I'm not going to give that out.
Okay.
You can DM us and I'll give you the tips and tricks on better pull-ups. But if you held a gun to my head, I'll bust out 25 pull-ups.
Well, yeah. I mean, adrenaline is a nice thing sometimes.
Yeah, adrenaline, willpower, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it just goes to show that if I just accepted, like, oh yeah, I can't do 20 anymore, and I moved on, well then that's using acceptance in a negative light.
Yeah.
Where I can use it as a positive light and say, oh shit, I can't do 20 pull-ups. Okay. Well, what do I have to do in order to strength train in order to get back to doing 20 pull-ups?
Yeah, like back to the definition, like what is it offering you?
Mm-hmm.
It's either offering you complacency or it's offering you the opportunity to grow and to learn from where you are on your map of strength and fitness.
Yeah, I had a dude that I came through the Marines with, Gunny Woodall. Dude's phenomenal athlete. Like, and he'll drink beer, he'll drink whiskey, he'll eat like shit, he'll eat McDonald's. He doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
And he always wore this shirt. It said, "Trample the weak, hurdle the dead." And Jeez. It was, I mean, quintessential perfect Marine slogan, you know?
Sounds great.
And I remember we would fight and he'd kick my ass and I'd get back up and he'd go, that's the important thing, is getting back up.
Yep.
And then I'd ask him, well, how do I prepare for this? How do I do this? How do I do that? And he just said, performance on demand. I'm like, what? And he said, performance on demand. If you can't perform on demand, you'll never make it. And I'm like, oh, and it kind of triggered in my head. And it also kind of started my spiral of, well, I'm going to do whatever I want as long as I can perform on demand. And yeah, but performance on demand still sticks with me today. Like, obviously, if I show up to that course and they're like, you have to do 11 pull-ups or you're going to go home, I'll do 12 minimum. I'm grateful for having that experience with him and the guidance to say, hey, you know, if you can't do it on demand, then can you actually do it? If you have to train and lead up to it, can you do it? David Goggins has multiple knee surgeries, shin splints all the time. And he had knee surgery. The doctor said, you're never going to run again. He went and he ran a fucking marathon. Literally, while he should have been recovering, he went and ran a marathon. And he said he looked to his wife and said, why the fuck am I doing this? And it's just because that's what he was not going to accept, that you're never going to run again. You're never going to walk again.
I had that situation.
Yeah.
I think I was 29, maybe 30, and I was born with hip dysplasia and like had a brace that I was put in as an infant.
Like Forrest Gump?
No, It was like, my mom said I was like an uppercase M, like my knees were bent because the socket on, like a frog, because the socket on one side was not fully formed, and it was something in my grandma, my mom, and I have it, like hereditary. And so I had an MRI done because I've got problems and I've always had pain. And so this doctor was like, you got a torn labrum and it looks like you have capsulitis or whatever. And oh, it might be arthritis right here. You're going to probably need a hip replacement by 40, 10 fucking years from now. Are you kidding me? I could have just accepted it and been like, you know what? I'm going to need one. Or I could accept what she's saying and use that as like a challenge. And that's what I chose to do. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to prove her wrong. I'm going to be that one person that has all these things going on in her hip and she's never going to need one. Or maybe when I'm like 80. But I'm not going to need one because I'm going to do everything I can to strengthen the area around it. So I accept, okay, I've got all these things going against me. What can I do to support that? And what can I do? I can do more hip and glute engagement type physical therapy type of workouts. I can stretch. I can do all these things that I know through my life in wellness and being, an athlete. I can do all these things, or I can use this one doctor's opinion and just let it define my future.
I can also hold you in an embrace.
Oh my God. That was actually a problem.
Huh.
Mom and Dad, if you're listening, I think I've already talked to you about
It's
this.
no longer a problem.
So I used to, kids, cover your ears. I used to not be able to be on top for like very long during playtime in the bedroom.
Yeah.
And my goal, there was this program. Stop it. I hope people aren't watching. So there was this program that I signed up for. It's called femoral acetabular impingement. It said, "What is your goal?" And my goal when I started their program, which are small movement exercises, my goal was to be able to be on top for the duration of an experience or part of it. And sure enough, within the last decade, as I'm even getting older, guess what, bitches? I can be on top. Oh, all
You're an
right.
idiot.
I am an idiot. We might have to keep that part for
Yeah.
subscription-based people.
Yeah. You want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that real quick?
Yes, I do. So we are going to be offering subscription-based episodes, and those include
Raunchy.
just us being us, and we tend to be a little perverted.
Explicit.
Oh, explicit. Yes, we're not perverted.
We're like that explicit label when I was a kid. I probably didn't have
The
one yet.
E, the big E,
No,
white
that's for
and
video.
black,
That's for video games.
and for music. It was on CDs too.
It said explicit
On what?
on my CDs because I'm old.
Oh.
It spelled the whole world.
Oh, really?
Word. Yeah, you think of like Straight Outta Compton's logo.
Nope.
The movie Straight Outta Compton.
Okay, back to what we were
rated
saying.
NC-17, motherfuckers.
Okay, we will be starting subscription-based episodes. And what does that mean? For $3 a month,
You can see my feet.
if you're into feet, foot finder. No, it'll be kind of like OnlyFans, like you pay for different videos,
No, it's
except
nothing.
we will not be doing anything like that. But we will be sharing content on the subscription base that we might cut out in the free version.
What if they pay for that?
Jesus. DM us. Just kidding. If you want to hear more personal content, then you would be a subscription-based person.
Yeah.
Thank you for your contribution.
Anytime. Where I'm being pretty vague on names and stuff like that, I'll just let it out.
You can?
I can on certain things.
Okay.
Some things I'm refused to. We can reveal who yelled at me for working on your motorcycle. He knows who he is.
Yes, he
And
does.
he's listening, going, "Bring me that fucking bike. If you touch it with a wrench, I'm going to beat you with it." Shout out to Ratchet.
Oh, that's awesome. The first episode that will be on the subscription is going to be our first episode where we did cut out a lot of the weird silences or the moments where I was trying not to cry or I was crying, more the raw footage, the raw content.
Yeah, some of the feedback from you guys has been that you don't want us to edit anything. Some of it for sake of time, for sake of consideration of others, we cut it out. But we are willing to do the unedited version, but we want to make it to where it's not accessible to everyone. A few dollars a month to get you a little bit more information. And if that's something you're into, cool. If not, then just keep listening on our Spotify or Apple.
Yep. And also YouTube.
Oh yeah, YouTube, because we're on video.
Yeah, we are.
I always forget.
Is that why you're making pillow boners?
No, I had a pillow boner because you were talking about being on top.
Were you hiding a real one?
I am wearing Dickies.
What does that mean?
That means it's visible if I have one.
We also want to thank all of our listeners. We have received really positive feedback. We've had a lot of people send us messages or text messages letting us know what they gained or just what they thought of the overall show. Also, we've had a handful of people rate the show. It's actually very easy. It's the little 3 dots below our show photo and the name of our show. It just says rate show. And all you have to do is give it 1 to 5 stars and that's it. I thought it was like where you leave a review. We have a handful already, but that does help us get more of a reach on the different platforms. And also, it reinforces to us that we're doing something that you guys enjoy. That's how we gain notoriety. That's how we know that something we're sharing is being well received.
Mhm.
And eventually, maybe it's something where we can actually monetize from this and we can start bringing on bigger names because we're reaching more people and more people are showing that support by rating, by following or subscribing and sharing with your friends. So we first want to thank everyone who has already done that. Without you, I mean, we'd still be recording because we kind of just have fun talking with each
Yeah.
other about stuff, but it gives us more motivation to start interviewing bigger names, and we already have a list, and I'm really excited about it.
We have a long list of episodes up and coming, and they're only going to get better.
Hell yeah, and our lights maybe won't die, and eventually, I know this is not related to the show, but we will be adding an addition onto the house,
Boom.
and it'll be a really cool, freaking awesome studio/recording/podcast room, yoga. Like, it'll just be a beautiful environment for creativity.
Mhm.
So if we can like get this thing going even more and get that started, hint, hint, smack, smack, we'll just keep growing and keep inspiring. So thank you all so much for listening, for watching. We appreciate you more than you know.
Yeah. And thanks for the good weather and the ability to ride motorcycles again.
Yes.
That's
Thank you
awesome.
to our listeners for the weather. So that's what it sounded like.
Listen, guys, if you're listening and you're still there, watch out for fucking motorcycles while you're driving. Don't be an asshole and cut us off.
Ooh, there's a thing I saw. It was rather than doing slug bug with your kids, do slug motorcycles. So you're training your kids who will become drivers to look for motorcycles.
Yeah.
I loved that.
Yeah.
That's such a good idea. Back to us ending the show.
Oh, yeah.
You're on
Good.
top of the mic again.
What?
Get off the mic. You've been there the whole time. Don't make me edit and change the volume. Do all the tweaks.
Just
Stop it.
fucking domestic violence.
Good. I'm glad it's on video. 'Cause some people like that. OnlyFans. I beat him.
She does.
That's the username.
It's okay.
We beat off.
Live me beat.
And I want to thank this week's sponsor, Olivia Jacobs Photography, and also livemebe.com. It is a platform for travel photography as well as travel tips and tricks. If you haven't visited over to and gone over to my website, do it now. livemebe.com. There's a portfolio of photography I've done for fine art collectors, hotels, family portraits, all kinds of fun stuff, as well as my blog where I write a lot. I actually have a blog about not the title acceptance, but it was called something like Redefining My Family or Learning How to Love Being a Single Mom. So it kind of coincides with this topic if you want to see what I wrote about in the moment of when I was feeling it back in 2021/2022. So thank you to me being the sponsor this week. And thank you to our listeners again for supporting us and sharing with your loved ones all the content we share.
If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, send it down to our email that we'll have linked into the account at the bottom of Spotify, YouTube, or Apple. Why are you laughing?
It's called the show notes.
There you go.